Selene, welcome to Beyond the Inbox. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Can you tell us a little bit about Vitae Apparel and how it got started?
Yeah, I started when I was 18. I just graduated high school and I used to be a competitive swimmer. So when we first started, I was just kind of shopping online looking for swimwear that was both functional but fashionable. And I couldn't really find anything that I liked on the market. And I also realized that on the market, a lot of big players like Victoria's Secret at the time were just using models that looked like Victoria's Secret model, and I didn't feel like I connected, and was represented in that area, so I kind of vouched to myself that, okay, like, if I start a company, I want it to be inclusive and showcase, like, different body types, so that's kind of always been our main pillar. We actually use our customers as our models on our website, so that's something that we're really proud of, and, yeah, it kinda pivoted to athleisure as well. At the end of 2018 was when we first launched our first collection of fitness apparel, and then it sold out immediately, and, it was really well received by our community, and then ever since then, we kinda slowly pivoted to activewear, and here we are now.
I wanted to ask you about the pivot because you and I discussed that in the pre interview. And I wanted to ask you, can you talk about the decision and how it impacted the brand?
Yeah. I asked our community what else they wanted to see because we're from Vancouver, Canada, and summer is only 3 months out of the whole year here, and I think that there was going to be way better products and designs that I could provide to our community so that it's less seasonal, for the business. And I just put up a poll and asked our community like what they wanted to see, and they said they wanted to see more activewear. So I was like, okay, like that makes sense. I used to train in activewear as well. So I started designing and then came up with our first collection at the end of 2018. And we launched, it sold out, like, within a few minutes, and then the items weren't even here yet, it was kind of on pre-order, and then I had to kind of recoup our cash and restock, like, a month and a half out. So fitness wear was more expensive to make than swimwear, it also has a higher MOQ. So for us, like, we've been bootstrapped, the whole way along, and we just kinda had to recoup our cash and then bring it back in stock a month and a half later. So I think our customers right now has kind of been, trained in a way to purchase when we drop a new collection. They're really excited for it, or they purchase when we have a restock or a sale. So yeah, that has kind of been our business model for the last 2.5 years now. And the pandemic didn't um, it was, like, unintentional that we kind of are drop based now and have a core collection on the side, because during the pandemic, like, supply chain was really hard, and so it was even harder to stock products. So we would stock products, like, a month and a half out, and then people would buy, restock, and we would make this a big thing, a huge event, and we would promote it everywhere on social media, and people would be really excited for it.
You mentioned community a few times already, and I had this in my notes as well. What is community for you and how do you maintain it?
Yeah. Community is our biggest pillar, and I think the main decision driver for every decision that we make in the business. Community, I knew that I wanted to build before I even started the company. I always love connecting with people, and I wanted to build a supportive, safe space for women around the world. And for us, we heavily invested in brand ambassador program right from the get go. So we have about like 5,000 brand ambassadors right now. Actively, and we always just kept building it. We put a lot of effort into it. The thing about community, I will say, is that it does take a lot of effort to maintain because it takes people to manage people, right? Like just like building a team. And what a lot of companies do is they start their brand ambassador program or they start some sort of like a referral program, but they don't do anything with it. They don't ask people's opinion. They don't spend time engaging the community and really hearing them out. And for example, like we run events online when it was during COVID, we run events in person and just really engage with our customers and our community. And I think that that is what makes us stand out. But also, people are very loyal to our brand. We have like a really high return customer rate, over 50% people come back and buy almost for like every drop. So I do believe that community is really important and that a lot of brands should look into and spend some time building that. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the drops as well. You mentioned in our last conversation that you were currently revamping your email flows. Can you talk about what changes you're making and why?
Um, I think that our email flows were set up by like a previous email agency that we hired a few years ago, and it was working, but we never kind of went into it to look at it or how it was performing. It's just kind of on autopilot, and like the last year and a half, I would say our revenue dropped a lot. Just post pandemic, eyeballs are not online anymore, and social media was kind of our uh, main channel, and it really affected us. So I was like, okay, like I know email marketing does work for us. We have a pretty big list. Like, let's look at how we can revamp this and make this better. So we kind of dove deep into our email flows and see what is not applicable anymore. And this is my mistake, but I go in there and I'm like, I don't even remember writing this email or this offer that we're offering. Like, what is this? So yeah, I think there needs to be some sort of like an SOP that is more regularly like checking how the metrics are doing and revamping the things as it goes. Yeah, right now we're kind of in the process of redoing some of the copywriting and really trying to figure out like what offers for example, the abandoned cart flow and whatnot would make a difference with our audience. Our previous abandoned cart flow, we offered a 14-day workout program, but this was made during COVID, and it was an at-home 14-day workout program, so that was, like, a really good offer during the pandemic because people were looking to work out from home and keep being active, but right now, everyone is going back to the gym. People are not really at home, so that offer was just there for the last 3 years pretty much. Yeah.
Can you talk about what the buying cycle looks like? So someone lands on the website for the first time. Are you pushing to capture their email address? I can see on the website here that you have this wonderful teaser in the bottom left-hand corner where you can actually download the app. I do want to ask you about that as well. Can you talk about
Mhm.
what that journey looks like?
Yeah, so I also found out that our pop-up was actually not working. I fixed it like a few weeks ago. So now it's up and running. And I think now that we have it back and running for I think like 3 weeks, we need to look at data and see like how the opt-in rate is. But right now our pop-up is kind of offering like, hey, every week we'll draw $100 gift card winner. Like opt in and you get like early access, exclusive perks and whatnot. So that is one way of capturing email from our website. The other way is we actually run giveaways with influencers. So we would find an influencer that we would work with semi long term and offer them like some sort of a big giveaway prizes. For example, usually something big like 10 outfits or $500 gift card, something bigger so people are enticed to go into the link in bio and enter into our landing page that we built. So it would be a landing page that we build that has the influencer wearing our outfits, and then we would say something like Vitae X, let's say like Selene, like giveaway. So we capture their audience's email as well, and then we kind of put them in a welcome flow specific to that influencer, like kind of written in their tone of voice and say like, hey, like thank you for entering the giveaway. I love Vitae. That's why it's important to run these giveaways with influencers that we have worked with before, and that are on a semi long term partnership. So that is another way of us getting emails and then just yeah putting them into a welcome flow and nurturing them that way. We always do a collection drop like every month and a half, so people on our email list gets exclusive early access, hints, stuff like that. So they are really engaged. Yeah, I think that's kind of like our journey.
It's interesting you mention influencers because I speak to a lot of founders and it seems to be very hit and miss. And I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, why do you think that is?
Yeah, actually, influencer marketing is a big pillar of our marketing. I would say about 20% of our revenue comes from influencer marketing, and it is a huge hit and miss. It's like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. Um, I think it's really hard now, especially because a lot of people became influencers over the last 2 years. Especially during the pandemic, there's a lot of coaches preaching becoming a content creator, influencer, and I think there's a lot more white noise now. Low quality people that are charging ridiculous amount of prices, and we are needing to filter through more influencers, and it is getting harder for the team because it just takes more time now. Mm, I think that The influencers that we find convert the best are the ones that have their own community. And I talked about community earlier, but it is really important to kind of have their own community. For us, we sell activewear, so there's one influencer. She only has 50K, but she made, I think I did the math the other day. She made like 10% of her revenue in the entire year. Um, so it's because she has a really engaged following herself, and she spends a lot of time building her own community. So it's really important to find people that align with your brand and what you do. And also, I think have their own community and actually cares about their community, not just posting outfits or whatever and shoving sales down their followers' throats. Like that doesn't really convert.
I was researching for this episode and I came across your TikTok account and you mentioned it earlier on, SOPs, and how you're
Mhm.
using Notion to document SOPs. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I found Notion, I think 4 years ago now. And back then, I only had one other person on my team, and I started using Notion, and I just fell in love with it. I think because I am really creative, Notion just looks really beautiful, and you can customize it however you want. So we use Notion actually for everything. We use it for our entire, I guess, like hub of information of the entire company, from employee handbook to SOPs to who's on the team to team member bios, what they do. Um, Workflows, and also we manage our projects on Notion. And yeah, I spent like the last 4 years building out our entire, I guess, like Notion webpage hub, I call it. And it's really thought out and still a continuous revamp, but I think it is really important to have a place where your team can go to and find all the information they need. Something that I learned during 2021 is we scaled our team really fast. We went from 5 to 20 people within the span of, I think, like 3, 4 months, and I way overhired. Definitely was in over my head, I think, like, kinda living in that pandemic bubble because our revenue grew 400%, so I was like, "Okay, like, we're just gonna keep going up." It might not go 400%, but at least, like, 50 or 100% increase, like, that's doable. So, I way overhired, people weren't efficient, but at the same time I think what was a struggle for me was that I didn't have a good structure in place for to onboard people, to have all the SOPs written out so that when we are onboarding people, they could just go to a resource center, watch it all, go through the onboarding process and whatnot. And then same with like offboarding. And then when there's more people, there's more structure and SOPs that needs to be in place regarding communication, performance, and all that. So it was a learning curve to kind of have to, I think, backpedal and build those things while I was onboarding so many people. So that was a big learning curve. If I were to go back, I would take a step back and build out my foundation first before scaling and building the team.
It definitely stood out to me. We use Notion every day here at Drip as well, and
Yeah.
we even built our own custom tasks and projects dashboard. And funnily enough, at the time of recording, Notion just released a new projects feature. So it seems
Yeah,
like
I saw that.
it's really interesting to see a lot more companies are using it now. But I want
Mhm.
to switch gears a little bit and go back to some of the marketing strategies you're using to grow the brand. And I want to talk about the app because you told me in the pre interview that it pulls in 25 to 30% of the revenue for the company. And I wanted to ask you, how are you promoting the app? Why did you launch an app and everything in between?
Yeah. We used Tapcart for our app, and it's interesting. Having an app was always in my vision board. I think like second or third year into running the business. We're 6.5 years in now. And I wanted to build an app because going back to that community piece, I wanted a place where people can hang out. I wanted a place for our customers to be able to look at recipes, workout programs, whatever resources that they need to support their lifestyle and their wellness, their life habits. I wanted it to kind of be in one place. And I also wanted the app to be able to have kind of like a discussion post. But so there are limitations around that, but it's a gray area because once you implement that, then it kind of turns into a social media platform in a way. So in my head, when I visioned having an app, I just wanted a place where everyone can come together and they can shop, learn, and talk all in one spot, and find their group of people that are like-minded. Um, and then I came across Tapcart. They are essentially like Shopify. It's very easy to build. It's drag and drop, but it's for your mobile app. And the good thing about it is it just syncs with your Shopify. So you don't need to duplicate all your products or somehow put it on the app. It's just all syncing with Shopify, and it's just you just check a checkbox and like it'll be available on Tapcart. So that was a huge plus for me, not having to have all these logistics figured out, like I would have if I were to build my own app. So what we do on our app is we actually launch, um, exclusive campaigns outside of products. So we worked with a few influencers to launch special projects. So one of them was a mini cooking series. So we did a cookbook. She's a TikTok influencer that loves cooking healthy meals, but making it yummy. So we did a 3-part, yeah, mini series. We filmed her cooking and then we put it, on the app, and then we also made a, e-recipe book. So it was like Vitae X Emma, and it was only available to people that have the app. And then we had another project where it was a full on, 14-day, it was 14 workout videos, but it was a 30-day workout challenge. So we launched that on the app, and then we launched a few other cookbooks as well. And then in the beginning of this year, we launched a meditation challenge, and we have meditation tracks on the app. And my vision is just like I want my brand to be more than just selling clothes to people. I want it to be a place where people can come to when they feel low, when they feel happy. Like I want it to be a lifestyle and provide a spot for people to hang out and get the resources that they need. Um, so that was kind of my vision for the app. And so we do utilize the influencer partnerships that we have to kind of like push downloads to the app. The good thing about the app too is you can send push notifications, and currently it is free. Like unlike SMS, it's whatever 10 cents per text. Push, it's completely free and technically you can spam them all day long. Obviously, do not advise that, but it is a way, I guess, like economic route, um, getting that same effect where it's like SMS push. So that is what we use our app for, and we have done a few things on there. For example, exclusive drops. So only if you have the app, you get the product. We've done early access before. We've done app exclusive sales, giveaways, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think our app is a big pillar of our company, but I will say it does also, again, like take time to manage. Um, I think that's also because the vision that I had for the app is not I didn't want it to just be shopping. I wanted it to be a resource center people to come to and they can also shop. But a lot of brands use Tapcart just because people are shopping online anyway. Why not make it more seamless with an app experience and they can do push notifications? So it just depends on your goals as a company. Yeah.
Do you have someone on the team right now that is responsible for community, or are you all pitching in to work on different aspects of community?
Yeah, we had, a community manager, and then, last few months we downsized, so I'm kind of like head of community now, and honestly, like, in a way, it's better. I mean, I put my face out there pretty often, like, in front of the community, and people connect with me very well, so I think, like, the engagement is actually better now that I am kind of handling it again. But if you're a bigger size company, like, it is not super scalable if you're kind of, like, always putting your face out there, if that's not something you like doing, so I think having a community manager is important, just handling the admin side of things and making sure that, things are flowing as they should. But, yeah, we did have, 2 people in the community department, actually.
I feel like there are so many moving parts to how you're using community, and one of those parts is the retreat. I wanted to ask you about that. Can you talk about the
Mm,
decision to have a retreat, and is this something that you're doing annually, or was this a one-off?
yeah, wow, you really did your homework. I'm impressed. Yeah, I personally went to a yoga meditation retreat at the end of last year in Costa Rica, and it was life-changing because last year was a year for me that was really tough mentally, like, going through burnout, and I'm sure a lot of founders were, coming out to speak about that. And I see a lot of founders post and I deeply resonate with that. So I kind of like took the trip. I was like, I need a break. It was life-changing for me. It made me feel more, I guess, like grounded. And when I came back, I was super energized. I was like ready to go. I had all these ideas that I wanted to do. And when I was at the retreat, the idea came, like, while I was meditating. Like, I was like, "What if I just did what I'm doing right now for my brand?" And people already love it. We've actually tried to do one, right before the pandemic, and but then COVID hit. Like, we launched our it wasn't a retreat, it was just, like, a trip. It was a trip to Bali, and it was sort of just, like, activities. There wasn't, like, yoga or meditation, and it's, like, sold out pretty much right away. But then the trip was mid, I think 2020, like, June 2020, and so we had to refund everyone, and everyone canceled their flights, but that didn't happen, and then I was like, "Okay, I would like to do one again, but this one with more intention." So we're doing a yoga and meditation retreat, in Salt Spring Island near Vancouver. Mm, I just wanted to bring people together. Obviously, people that run events and retreats know that there's not a lot of margins on there, in terms of business, but what I find interesting is so far the people that signed up, some of them are obviously customers, some of them have never bought from us. So I was like, interesting to know. This is our first retreat ever. Like the fact that someone bought a retreat that has like never shot from us and like instead paid like over $1,000 to come. Like that was very interesting to me. I know that if people make the commitment to come, they will have like a very surreal experience coming out of it. And my idea was that I just want to tie my brand again to lifestyle, to experience. I want people to feel a certain way when they associate our brand. So that's kind of like where my idea came from, and we're doing it in Salt Spring Island close to home, so I feel like it was more achievable for our customers here, and just to test out and see how it goes. My idea is to run it more often going forward, if this one is a success. Yeah.
One of the most recurring themes that comes up on this show is founders being reluctant to become the face of their own brand and then doing it and
Mm,
realizing how important it is. And that's
yeah.
something that really struck out to me when I was researching for this episode. And I really want to praise you for your transparency in a lot of your TikTok videos. And I also
Thank
wanted to
you.
ask you about your decision to do that because that can be a very vulnerable thing for a founder to do, especially one that's building a company.
Yeah. I went through I kind of went through like my own process as well. Prior to COVID, I was very front and center of my brand. I was on there a lot. I was always on the stories. People know who I am. I show up to every event, photo shoot, and whatnot. And then when the pandemic hit, we grew a lot. So I was kind of being pulled in all different directions, mainly to build the team and also figure out like what that process looks like. So I actually had like way less time to be on the phase. And then because we were scaling so much, I had this thought. I was like, okay, what if like I want to sell, let's say in like 3, 5 years, and my face is so tied to it. How is that going to impact my sale? Because technically, like people are associating the brand with, like with my face. And then during 2021, I basically came to the conclusion that I didn't want to be the face of the brand because I was like, I do want to sell this one day, and I don't want to have that affect the sale. Like, what if I need to continue to be on the board or something like that? So I did that for a year, and honestly, that whole year a lot has happened, and but I do think that because I wasn't the face of the brand as much, like I still hopped on obviously, but way less. I think the community definitely slipped away. And I felt it early 2022. I was like, okay, I could feel that the community is less engaged. And then I sort of like audited like my thoughts and my intentions of like, okay, what do I want to do? And I know that now, especially TikTok is growing. Like so many companies that do 7, 8 figures are solely because of the face of the founder being on TikTok, posting videos all day long. So I took a step back and I was like, okay, this is clearly like a direction that a lot more brands are moving towards. And I was like, you know what? If I have to sell one day, and that we'll think about it when I cross the bridge. And I personally love building a community. Like that was always my mission, and I just kind of fell off the tracks while I was scaling the team. So I decided to go back in, and not only that, I wanted to be transparent on like the journey that we are on. So I share our financial struggles with our community. I talk about, like, the burnout that I had. I talk about, obviously, the good times too and, like, showing the behind the scenes process of designing the collection, how it came to be, and I think storytelling is very key. Like, recently I posted a video about how we launched our first sustainable collection, 3 years ago now, I think, 2 years ago, and it's been honestly sitting here for 2 years, and the whole video was my story. It was like I really wanted to push Vitae towards more sustainable, practices, so we launched our first sustainable collection, but it was more expensive, and I just told our story about how we kind of failed on the collection, like, people didn't respond to it. It was at a higher price point. The colors were, like, brighter, so maybe that is a factor. So I posted the video, and I gave people a discount code to use at the end as a call to action, and I was like, "I just want you to try it out. I swear we're not making money on this product. Just tell me how you think about it and why you didn't want it, or why you didn't buy it, or, if you can buy it, like, tell me how you like the product so I can decide, like, where I wanna move." Vitae towards? Should we come up with another collection? And that video, I think, got me like 70 sales, whereas like literally this collection was not moving. We put it on sale like multiple times. So I know the power of storytelling. I know the power of, putting your face out there, being vulnerable and telling your customers like what you're struggling with, what you're not struggling with, and just sharing them with your journey. And at the end of the day, a lot of, people listening to this are probably, small to medium business, like D2C. Like, how are you gonna compete with, let's say, like, Lululemon, Apple? Like, your face and your story is your key to, I think, beating those competitors or bigger competitors because whoever's running behind Lululemon or Apple, like, they don't really have that personal connection, whereas you can, so why not use that? And I think it's just a mind block in your mind if you're like, "Okay, I can't film, I can't look into the camera." I think it's just practice. Like, in the beginning, I retake 20 times too, and now I just don't really care. If I say the wrong thing, I'm like, "You know what? I'm just gonna type bullet points," and people don't hear me talk on stories anyway, so it's just like a mindset thing that you need to switch, and you're like, "Okay, no one's actually, like, hearing me talk, you know? All that matters is that I show up, so, yeah, I hope that helps.
Super helpful, and I have so many follow-up questions, but I'm mindful of our time soon coming to the end. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a little bit earlier on about the future of the brand. I wanted to ask you, where do you see the future of the brand in the next 3 to 5 years? Where would you like to take it?
Yeah, so we've scaled down the team a lot, and I think right now we're kind of going back to what was working, which was our community, our influencer marketing, our organic, like, social media strategy. Funny enough, like, ads never really worked for us profitably, so I'm still interested in dabbling in it, but, being mindful of, like, really looking at the metrics and seeing if we're profitable. I wanna pivot the brand a little bit to more wellness, so it kinda goes in line with our retreat. We're launching a podcast and, like, our own brand podcast, more so about, wellness in a holistic view, and my idea was that I would actually have customers on the podcast, instead of only having experts, and I think that, again, honing into our community point, which is, like, I wanna tell real people's stories, about how they overcame, mental health challenges or self-confidence and whatnot, and just really honing in on our brand values and bringing that community piece, up to the next level by doing that podcast, and yeah, that's kind of, like, my plans right now. Our brand's demographic grew a bit older, so doing a bit of a rebrand and, moving more towards the wellness direction is where I'm planning to take it.
Selene, I have one final question for you before we start wrapping things up, and that is, where can our listeners go to learn more about the brand?
So our website is vitaeapparel.com, VITAEAPPAREL.com. If you wanna connect with me personally, my LinkedIn is, Selene Dior. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes. Um, and yeah, if you guys want to support Vitae, I can do a discount code. Maybe like drip 20, so 20% off. And yeah, that's where we can connect.
That is a perfect place to end. Well, Celine, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and thanks again for taking the time to join us today, and all the best in the future with the brand and with starting the podcast as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.